So for today's edition of the Z-Files, we're going to title this one Wires and Harnesses on the I.S.S. Debunk NASA. That's right. As I said earlier, there's a concept when you learn how to think critically. You can even see it in common law. It's when somebody is false in one thing, they can be assumed to be false in all things, meaning to say their credibility becomes in question. Let's take a court of law. If you have a witness on the stand, say an expert witness, and you can show that witness to be, let's say, less than truthful. If you show that they lied, they then, by nature, lose their credibility, and everything else they say is now in question. Falsus in unum is falsus in omnibus. Now, just means if you're false in one thing, your credibility is shot, and now you must, by nature, be presumed to be false in all things. What's the point? What is he saying here? He uses a bunch of big words. People tell me. Okay, let me break it down to the simplest factor here. Once I could show that NASA is lying, then everything that NASA says after that has no credibility by nature, by logic. Get it? Oh, why are you doing this, Steve? What's the point? So does it make the earth flat? Well, what it does do, it shows that the greatest so-called proof used by most of the people who argue for the globe, the greatest so-called proof, NASA, space travel. Remember our friend Graphics the other day? He tried to end the conversation by saying, what does it matter? Because in 20 years, space travel is just going to be common. Okay. The last refuge of the globe defenders is NASA and space travel. Once I can show you that they're lying, you lose your greatest globe proof, which is indeed no proof at all. Logically, it's only an espoused proof. All right, so these are images from the 2013 movie Gravity. Remember that? Sandra Bullock, George Clooney. This is a huge Hollywood movie. This is just showing you what they can do with harnesses. See the harnesses? The obvious CGI, of course. But we're not going to focus on the CGI this morning. We're going to focus on the harnesses and the straps and the wires. Here's Superman, one of them. He's obviously on a wire in front of a green screen. You see the harness on his feet, on his hips. And he's flying through the air. What does it say here? Although current special effect technologies are almost undetectable, so long as real people are used, there will be errors. And that's the point. You have to look with a discriminating eye with these things, because they're going to show you images, they're going to show you a presentation that may indeed fool you. But if you are discriminating and you use your God-given ability to think critically, you will see the errors. The errors which I am going to show you now. For example, it is often very easy to detect the use of wires and harnesses on the I.S.S. Okay, so here's another thing we're seeing from Hollyweird and how they utilize wires. I want you to notice right there where the wire is attached, you can see ever so slightly the cloth, the material of the pants rising, being pulled by the wire. You see it? Now let's look here. Oh, we're on the I.S.S. First, let's look at these guys. On the I.S.S. This Z, yeah, you might have made up this footage. No, this is actual footage from NASA. You have to understand, they do these quote unquote live presentations to children often in elementary schools where the children can ask questions, you see. They make it an interactive experience to try to sell this. Oh, how could you say they're faking space, Z? How could you say they're faking the ISS if they're talking to children in real time? Well, let's see how they do it. This man obviously is bending over for whatever reason, the guy on the right in the red shirt. Look at his left hip. I want you to notice his shirt and his pants as he went down. See it? Right here where my arrow is, circling it. You can see the obvious wire pulling on his shirt. See it? You guys paying attention here? There's another one. Oh, doing flips in space, 0G. Watch the man on the left side of the screen in the foreground in the blue shirt and pants. Look at his left hip as he's completing his somersault in quote unquote 0G space. Let's just watch. See it? You can see it right here. To the point where the guy with the Marine Corps shirt, the astronaut on the right of your screen, he uses his right arm and he grabs the wire with his hand in an effort to save face. He sees the fuck up, he keeps the smile, and he grabs it. Look, you see him? See him grab it? And it even jerks him. Watch him. See it? Look at the pants, grabs the wire and jerks it. Oh, you want more? Oh, that's not an... Okay, let's keep going. This is that Scott Kelly guy, this astronaut here in the left, the foreground. I want you to look at them, guys. They don't look natural. I want you to think of what a zero gravity environment would be. And I want you to look at their body positions, their faces. Use your discernment. Right here. See here? Where the yellow circle is? Right there. See the obvious harness? You see it? How it pulls? You don't see the wire because, again, they're in front, very likely, of like a green screen, just like they do in Hollywood. You're not going to see the wire. You're going to see the effects of the wires, the effects of the harness. It's obvious, guys. Let's continue. This is just more about how Hollywood uses harnesses. This isn't complex technology. This is known. All right, here's two other clowns. First of all, let's just look how awkward they're positioned. They don't look comfortable. They look like they're being propped up and they're hanging from wires. They look like human marionettes, for Christ's sake. They look like puppets. They appear to be hanging on wires. But that's not the emphasis of this image. We're going to look into the background. You may have noticed a man floated by in the background, but let's take a better look at this man as he floats by in the background. Whoops! Did you see around his waist? What did you see there, guys? Around his knees? Around his legs? Do I need to show it again? Let's show it again. An obvious harness around his waist, and here on his lower thighs, right above his knee. They screwed up with the green screen. They goofed. Oh, you want more? All right, let's go. Let's do more. All right, I want you to check out this astronaut. Watch this. Whoop! Watch her drop. She's floating, right, in space where there's no gravity. There she goes. What? Did gravity just kick in? No. They fucked up her harness. They messed up her harness. Harness and wires are shockingly advanced and permit all types of acrobatics. There's more people demonstrating the amazing agility that one can achieve using harnesses and wires. Watch this movement here. As all of a sudden, apparent gravity kicks in. No. They just messed up. Again, check out the agility, the acuity that could be achieved with these harnesses. Look at that. It's amazing. If Hollywood could do it, I want you guys to really, let's think about what a Hollywood movie, what they're budgeted. These huge blockbuster movies that employ this advanced level of technology that includes computer graphic imaging, so-called CGI. You look at these movies, you're talking about $120 million budget. You're talking about maybe $200 million budget if it's real big. That's less than the budget NASA gets in a week. NASA gets more of governmental money in a week. They get more in 3 days than these Hollywood blockbuster movies. So imagine the level of trickery they could pull off. Let's continue. More somersaults in space. Just like what we saw in the images prior. There's a big problem for astronauts trying to hold an awkward pose for too long. Now we're going to get into it. As will be demonstrated here with multiple examples, a person naturally tries to keep their head upright as much as possible in order to avoid strain on their neck and maintain normal blood flow. Let's continue. The head knows which way is up. But they tell us there is not supposed to be an up in space. Remember? There's no up in space. It's zero gravity. Plain and simple. Zero G's in space. Let's look at this lady. First, I want to point out ancillary. Look at her hair. Here's another thing, guys and dolls. If the I.S.S. was real, they wouldn't allow anybody with long hair on it. It would constitute a hazard in so many ways. But look at the obvious hairspray that they're using. It's not flowing naturally like it would. Picture how hair flows when one's in water. That's how hair would look in a zero gravity environment. It wouldn't look like her hair, but that's not the point. I'm digressing on the hair. It's so much more than the hair. That's just a part of it. But we'll allow this lady astronaut to explain the very point that I'm making here. Let's let her tell it. She'll do it better than me.
But, you know, again, all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is where 4 out of 6 of us sleep. But, you know, you can sleep in any orientation. I have it sleeping, feeling like I'm standing up right now, but like you saw, I'm on the floor. But it doesn't matter if I turn over and I sleep upside down. I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down. So I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down. So
I don't have any sensation in my head that tells me I'm upside down. Interesting. Let me show you guys something here. What you see here is entitled Anatomy of the Otoliths. Now, you have existing in your inner ear two organs called otolithic organs. One is called a saccule, one is called a utricle. And they're your otolithic organs. These otolithic organs are a part of your vestibular system. Your vestibular system is the system in your body that is responsible for your balance. It's how you know your orientation in space. Within your vestibular system that's located in your inner ear, you have the otolithic organs, the utricle and the saccule, that are responsible for your orientation in space, or at least your sense of orientation in space. The otoliths are small structures in the inner ear that register quote unquote gravity. Gravity just means weight. It doesn't have to be their theory of gravitation and the bending and warping of space-time. It registers weight, what we call gravity. And it also is associated with linear accelerations, movements in linear directions. Okay? You see the anatomy, you see the image here. This is the utricle, this is the saccule. These are your otolithic organs. All right? I want you to look within here. You have this membrane. See this membrane here? This is called the otolithic membrane. It's both in the utricle and the saccule. Existing on top of this membrane, embedded in a gelatinous material, are what's called otoconia. See these here? These are crystals. These crystals, these otoconia that exist within these otolithic organs, respond to quote unquote gravity and linear acceleration. You have, through your vestibular system, an ingrained ability to sense your orientation in space, with a caveat. Because they function due to their weight, you cannot have this functioning in a weightless environment. Does anybody know what I'm getting at here? It means that your vestibular system does not function in a weightless environment. It could not function, I should say, in a weightless environment. By nature, meaning to say you would not know up from down in a weightless environment. Just like she said, do I need to rewind what the lovely astronaut lady just told us? That there is no up in space, there's no sensation of it. Okay, let's continue with the presentation. Do not have any sensation in my head that tells me that I'm upside down. She's just said it, so let's continue. What happens to people hanging from harnesses on Earth? Pay attention to the directions of their head. Just what I was saying. You will watch these acrobats here on the wires and harnesses. You can see the functioning of their vestibular system demonstrated. Notice that his head leans naturally upwards as he's doing his acrobatics. This is a natural tendency to orient yourself. See his head? His head leans upwards due to the functioning of his vestibular system, as I explained, due to the sensation of the blood pressure in his head as the blood is pulled down due to quote unquote gravity, folks. You know your orientation in space due to your sensory organs that would not function in a zero G environment because your blood would not be pulled down, creating a pressure sensation. The otoconia, which are the crystals that have weight that exist in your otolithic organs, your utricle and saccule, in your inner ear and your vestibular system, the otoconia would not respond. You would not have a sensation of up or down in zero G. Thus, there would be no sensation in a zero G environment that would cause you to orient your head upwards. It would not be needed. It would not exist. Let's continue. I want you to watch further. Watch this man's head. Now he's trying to hold it straight and he's uncomfortable. But you'll see he will naturally go back. See the headward, the alignment? He's leaning his head upward to orient himself. See it here? This one's obvious. Due to the functioning of his vestibular system and this proprioception, the sense of proprioception, where he's feeling the pressure, the blood pressure in his head, he will orient it naturally upwards. Now let's take a look at our astronauts again on their wires and harnesses as they're supposed to be in zero G. Look at their heads. Look at the tilt of both of them. They are naturally orienting their heads in an upward position. It's just what people do. There would be no need to do so in a zero G environment. There would be no sensation that would cause this natural reaction of head tilt. Her head is tilted unnaturally upwards, assuming the zero gravity environment that they are purporting. Here she is again. Why is she tilting her head upwards? There would be no need to in a zero G environment. It would just align straight with her body. For her to be able to carry this conversation without her face getting red from blood pressure, without straining, without showing the obvious signs of being upside down, she has to keep her head oriented as you see it. Same thing here. And again, look at the hair ancillary. Does that look like flowing hair in zero G? Or does that look like Bride of Frankenstein on Halloween? Watch her head tilt as she goes. See how she's naturally aligning her head in a upward orientation, naturally. Why is she doing that in zero G? There would be no need to do so. Look at these clowns. The guy on the right's the Canadian astronaut. I forget his name. So he goes over. He's trying to keep that head straight, but then he tilts. Look at these guys. Guys, if you can't tell they're hanging from harnesses, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing natural about their movements. They look like they're being puppeteered. This is insane. Same thing with the head orientation. Once they try to tilt, once they go off a vertical orientation, the head tilt gives it away. That indeed they are putting on a show on strings in the same environment that we exist in. 0G is just an imaginary place. Yeah. Oh, it's so awkward watching them. And there's his head tilting. See that head tilt? See it? This is not anti-gravity. You couldn't live in anti-gravity. You couldn't stay in an anti-gravity environment for an extended period of time. Your biology would cease to function. You'd lose your mind. It's crazy to think otherwise. Actually, it's absurd. And here's more. Look, his whole body. He's orienting his whole body to get his head straight. That's enough of that. Some of you may ask me, or you'll just say, what's the difference, Z? It doesn't prove anything. So what? You showed their line about the I.S.S, Z. So what? NASA's faking it. So what? Here's what. By debunking NASA, one removes the primary so-called proof of this globe. Because once I can show you, and others like me can show you, that the theory of a heliocentric solar system, the theory of the globe, goes against all applied physical science and demonstrable reality. Once we can show you that, your last refuge of argument is always NASA. Images from space, astronauts, moon landing, I.S.S, the entire space presentation. My point is this. Once I can show you that NASA is lying, you can no longer go to NASA as evidence or proof of this supposed globe or solar system. It is not proof anyway, logically, because pictures from space and astronauts in the I.S.S prove nothing. Because of the obvious fact that people can lie. People can fake those things. I'm showing you that they're lying. They've gotten caught. People have caught them. They've saved these. Luckily, they screen grabbed these things. It's been recorded and preserved so that we can look at these things and we can discover the truth. So as you say, this proves nothing. Of course it proves nothing, because I'm not trying to prove anything to you. I'm under no burden to prove anything to you because I espouse no claim. A demonstrably level horizontal world is not a claim. The globe is a claim. The globe is a claim that goes against all observable, measurable, testable, repeatable reality. The burden of proof is on the claimant to prove this globe. The burden of proof is on those supporting the claim to provide the proofs and the evidence for this globe. So you're right, I proved nothing here. But what I did was debunk the biggest, most ubiquitous so-called proof of this globe, showing again that there is no proof of a globe. There's no proof of the heliocentric model. And again, all reality, all evidence shows the complete opposite. That we live in a world that is level and horizontal, a world in which oceans show no proof of convexity at great distances. A world in which the globe is impossible based off all known laws of physical science.